reasons for different things. Mine was that Uncle Billy, he had brought us to Jersey. There was an apartment available in the house that he was in. During that time period, my husband had an accident on the job. And the accident on the job caused trauma to the nervous system. I have a cold. The insurance from the job ran out in 6 months. I was doing multi-level marketing with a friend out of the Empire State Building. I had to stop everything I was doing for him. Because in Jersey City, they didn't have home care 2 days a week for 3 hours a day. And Davey started having, at times, trauma with the nervous system, even though every test came out negative. I had to wait 2 years to get Medicare and Medicaid. We ran out of our resources and our savings for paying for the rent. We were on Manhattan Avenue. It was 1,000 without including the heating bill. They wanted to renovate and sell us condominiums. They moved us to Lincoln Street, 120 Lincoln Street, and jacked up the rent from 1,000 to 1,800 without including the heating bill. During that time, Uncle Billy was staying with us. Then he got laid off because he was working. He was already retired, but he was working off the books.
Hang on 1 minute.
Yeah.
Is it okay to video record this interview?
Huh?
Is it okay for me to video record her talking to you?
I guess.
Okay, thank you.
So, there's different things that go on for different reasons. Now, I had to wait 2 years for my husband to get Medicare and Medicaid. I couldn't get another appointment in the neurology center because they wouldn't take it at that time. And at the clinic, you had to wait too many months. I found one doctor on NYU, Dr. Hutchinson. And the worst thing was meeting him, and I'll tell you why. Even though he was very nice, he immediately diagnosed him as early Parkinson's, which means there's trauma to the nervous system of not converting serotonin liquid into dopamine liquid for the nervous system. But every test came out negative on that. Every test came out negative. Now, when I read the side effects to the medication, I told Dr. Hutchinson, why would I give him this? This is horrible. He withheld the latest discovery. And the latest discovery is that on very flexible bones, it robs the bones faster from calcium and doesn't permit calcium absorption. He didn't tell me that. So then what happened was, he didn't tell me the second new discovery is that it can cause melanoma without being in the sun. My husband started having breakouts in the skin. He has over 30 beauty marks, had over 30 beauty marks that we call beauty marks. And I had to keep checking them. I found one that was changing and it was scraped off. It says in the new listings, that's why Michael J. Fox is so against it, is that if any new brown ones come out, black ones or red ones, it's a danger of skin melanoma in the process.
Can I ask
What
you a
happened? Let me
question?
tell you what happened to him. He was on the street with us in a wheelchair.
Were you homeless then?
Yes, we had to leave the apartment. We ran out of resources. So then what happened was, we were going to NYU. Uncle Billy had the wheelchair with us. He was still walking with a cane. When all of a sudden, 2 weeks before that, we were going on the train and he stumbles over. I waved down a taxi because he had chest pains and we were close to NYU. Not NYU, Weill Cornell on 68 in York. They said he had factor 3 ribs. I said, impossible. How? They didn't connect it to the medication. He was admitted into the hospital. 2 weeks later, we were on Penn Station going to NYU when all of a sudden he stumbles to the side. And he said, something snapped, something snapped. We thought it was his ankle. An ambulance came. We went to the same hospital, NYU. And they said his right hip snapped in 2 places. I said, impossible. How? There was no accident. When he had the accident on the job, he didn't break anything. At NYU, in the ER, they told me, it's the medication. I go, how? That wasn't listed as a side effect. But the regular side effects, and I want to stress this out, is that it's a very dangerous medication. That's why Robin Williams committed suicide. He was diagnosed. He was bipolar, manic depressive, plus suffered from depression, and then he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He did not, Parkinson's is only the doctor's last name. He did not contact Michael J. Fox, or he would not have been on that medication. On a high dose, that medication causes suicidal thoughts. I did not want it. Dr. Hutchinson insisted, low dose, 1 month, 1 month. He raised it to the high dose the 2nd and the 3rd month, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong with David. They had to put him in a nursing facility. I was waiting for Section 8 in New York and in Jersey. Nothing was showing up. And in New Jersey, it was bad neighborhoods with no elevators. David got stuck in a nursing facility. And on January the 8th of 2019, he aspirated. He caught an infection, we think from the flu shot, that caused an infection in one of his lungs. He wasn't due for the pneumonia shot for 3 years. And that morning, I was staying with him overnight. I felt he was in discomfort. They gave him Tylenol. He falls asleep. He wakes up and he tells me he wanted something to eat. I didn't want to give him anything to eat. I gave him a smoothie. And then like almost half an hour later, all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. His face swelled up. It was turning blue. And I'm screaming. Nobody's coming on the call bell. I'm screaming for help. I run into the hallway and I scream for help. Then everybody came running. The aides grabbed me. The nurses ran in and they called for CPR equipment. And they wouldn't let me back in. And they took too long, and then they called an ambulance. And 2 ambulances came, paramedics, AMGs, with 3 police officers, and everybody's in the room. And they took too long. Then they take him to the hospital, the resource hospital in Secaucus, because the original nursing home in Jersey City was closed down. An RN nurse that I know very well put a lawsuit against it, and the corporation shut it down. Then what happened was, it is very strange for me. The aides are holding me. They took too long, the EMTs and the paramedics. And when they rushed him to the hospital, a police officer took me in the car. The nurse that was attending to David, I knew her from the other facility, Christine. When Christine realized it was me and David, she goes, oh my God, this is David. What happened? What happened? I go, I don't know what happened. Then the doctor comes out half an hour later and tells me that if he was to survive, he was on life support, that he would have brain damage because oxygen didn't get close fast enough to the brain. When they let me in, his eyes were still open. It was all bloated. And blood was coming out of his pores. And I'm praying. I'm hugging him, I'm kissing him. I closed his eyes and his eyes reopened. I felt his spirit was still there. And Christine told me that that was a reflex. I cleaned his body. I had it wrapped in a sheet before it was put in the case. I had a towel put between his legs in case any urine and poo-poo came out. They took him to the morgue right near the ER. I stood there for many hours, not wanting to leave him in the morgue. In the morning, I called his family and I told them what happened. His family did not know what I've been going through. They knew that I was taking care of David. I was there 7 days a week for him. When I saw something was wrong, I asked to stay overnight, and they agreed. There was no family plot. They were full. And his brother from South Carolina convinced me of him being cremated. I didn't want that. In fact, I tried to stop it the next day. He was in the morgue for a week. On January the 15th, there was the viewing. And his body was still swollen. They dressed him up, really nice. And for some bizarre reason, I still felt that his spirit was still there.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear this story. I see how painful it is for
It
you.
is very, very painful because I was waiting for Section 8 to take him home. And Dr. De La Cruz, who was his psychiatrist, because in the nursing homes they have to have a psychiatrist, he never prescribed anything because it wouldn't agree with him, his medication, even though he was on a very low dose now. Dr. Elamir, who was the doctor that was taking care of him, didn't do right by him. Didn't have him taken to the ER, didn't do intravenous antibiotics. He said not to worry about it. He told me not to worry about it. And I knew there was something to worry about. And he aspirated on January the 8th. But what I'm bringing out all of this, it adds to my pain and what I'm going through. But you should do a documentary on what the pharmaceutical is doing with very destructive medications. Let me explain something to you very carefully. We ride the trains, the PATH trains. They know us. We buy our unlimited for the whole month. He has his, I have mine. We don't go to shelters because they have demented people there. There are people that are not well. They're mentally ill. And
Put you in the same room.
say that again?
They put you in the same room with some of these people. And they have a line of people going down to taking a shower. And while you're taking a shower or waiting to take one, they go in your room and they steal everything you got and throw it out the window. Their buddies not safe.
Well, we're connected to
So does this mean you stayed in a shelter?
No, we don't. We check them out.
Yeah. I've been through a few of them.
In order to go to a safe haven, you have to be in a shelter. And most of the safe haven are for people that are mentally ill. Here in Macy's, on the 7th floor, they have what's called breaking ground. That's on the 7th floor in Macy's.
It's downstairs.
And what happens there?
It's for housing. For housing. They have safe havens, but they already said that the safe havens that they have for women are for mentally ill women. Would I want to be there? I said no. And the one for men are for mentally ill men. So Uncle Billy doesn't want to be in a place where there are people that have mental problems. Because the medications they put them on make them even worse, not better. Not better. So
How long have you been homeless?
it's been a while. It's been a while.
Where do you sleep?
I just told you on the train,
On the train.
on the PATH train.
I see. Sleep on the PATH train.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Try to, much as possible.
We rest. Actually, we
Police
rest.
come in and chase everybody out.
We rest.
So you use whatever sleep you got, you lose
We rest there. We have everything in storage in Jersey City. We just rest and we're just waiting for the appropriate housing.
You expect you will get a house, an apartment somewhere?
Mhm.
You believe you will. How long do you think that will take?
It's been taking a long time, and I'll tell you why. Because in Jersey City, they have buildings in bad neighborhoods with no elevators. And he needs an elevator.
You need.
And no, but I'm getting better from my leg because I had a bad fall. So the thing is, the rents have been too sky high. And you know who started Section 8 many years ago? The Rockefellers. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it was the Rockefellers. Because the Rockefellers have apartment buildings, and they did not want any of their tenants to go through a hardship and be out in the street. So they agreed to a Section 8 program in case they had a hardship. It was started by the Rockefellers. And then many other people joined in on it. But you know something? Even though I've been through what I've been through, I still believe in the power of prayer. And I still believe in the law of attraction. And that means you can't keep confessing what you're going through. You got to meditate and affirm it's over. And you got to attract the blessings in your life so you can get back on your feet. And you know who's teaching that? Jake Ducey.
Well, we're making this documentary so that New Yorkers could realize what it must be like for women to be homeless in this rich city. And so anything you want to say about that? Of course, you have a companion here, so you're not totally alone.
Exactly. In fact, when David passed away, he was in a nursing facility for therapy.
I told her to come by me.
So now you stick together, the two of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's helpful that she's not a
Yeah.
woman alone.
Yeah, we need each other.
How long have you been together, actually?
Uncle Billy's been with us for quite a while.
For a while, yeah.
He was my aunt's companion for many years. She passed away many years ago, though. And that's why I call him Uncle Billy.
How long have you been homeless, Uncle Billy?
I don't know, it's been a while. The ones that spoil it for most homeless people are these mentally ill people that carry all their garbage with them. And they stink, smell, you know, they don't care.
Oh.
And they're mentally gone anyway, so they don't care, and they walk right into the middle of a meeting with everybody with suits on, and they start panhandling. People want to get them out of their way. So when you walk into a restaurant and you want to order something, they say, no, we're closed. You can't eat here. Why? That's discrimination. I'm allowed to eat here.
So what would you do to prevent that?
The only thing I could do is to get a good New York City lawyer and sue them.
Sue those people?
Yeah, the people that turn you, they give you 20 minutes. How do you eat in a restaurant, even if it's fast food? How do you eat in a restaurant in 20 minutes? You gobble your
It's Jake
food down and
Ducey,
choke on it?
Ducey.